hopefully they will not completely dominate. It would be a bit of a sad show if they were able to. Turkey desperately sending troops south. Do not have the numbers in this area to quite stop a Saudi onslaught. However, they did just stack wipe a Saudi army. And now the Saudis are actually struggling for manpower. They are almost on an equal footing in terms of troops. But this will be very interesting to see how this pans out, because the United Arab Emirates still do have a military, but they do have the capability of building more troops, or recruiting more troops. And as we see in the north of Spanish Maghreb, the Libyans are making gains, and it's the Libyan army itself under Abdelkader Zeroual. Excuse me if I pronounce that wrong. And looks like the Spanish want to go after some very dirt poor land, but there's no stopping the Spanish, unfortunately. The Saudis just won a very important battle in Wasit, as the Turkish are now on the run and have no significant troop forces. Looks like this is a one war for the Saudis. However, this war in Iraq is still quite significant as these two nations fight on. Pakistan, they have not made many gains back, and the Spanish are still pushing on, now making gains back. Okay, Turkmenistan still not having the troops at the moment to be able to actually properly field in this area. However, they have improved their hinterland, as they know, or their homeland, as they know that if they lose this war, there won't be more than one step till they're gone. Uzbekistan to their north, likely looking down there with very, very hungry eyes, as they wish to expand their borders in order to avoid Kazakhstan coming down from the north. Kazakhstan, however, being one of the poorer nations in the region, Uzbekistan has almost 40,000 troops, Kazakhstan barely fielding 17,000, and Kyrgyzstan already fielding 15,000. This is what happens when you're in a few too many wars. You do not get to expand as you wish. The nations in Central Asia, having been at peace for quite some time, are very rich. Tajikistan also still here, but not as developed as its northern neighbours. Turkmenistan, probably the least developed, however they do have the hinterland to gain from. Saudi Arabia has taken almost all of the United Arab Emirates apart from Qasim, and now we only have two more nations on the Arab Peninsula, that being Zufar and Wusta of the Omani nation, and as mentioned before, the United Arab Emirates. It was still rather rich compared to, say, Somalia or Kenya, but they are up against a much bigger foe. Anyway, a lot of wars just popped up, and this war's still going on in Iran, or what remains of Iran. The Burkinabe conquest of Hayare, which would be Burkina Faso up against Segu and Senegal. Likely not going to go too well for Burkina Faso, but however there has been a recent war with Spain, so time will tell. The Japanese reconquest of the Kurils, Japan up against Russia and Denmark, very even fight there. The Malian conquest of Joma, Mali, Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, up against Segu, Niger, and Senegal. Senegal has now split its forces. I did not see this. This is going to be a very one-sided fight, I do believe, in favour of the Malians. The South African reconquest of Polokwane, being South Africa and Gabon, up against Botswana, Democratic Republic of Congo, Tanzania, and Zambia. Finally, the South Africans are making a move against their growing threat in the north. Okay, let's go check it out in West Africa. A lot of fighting going on here at the moment. The Libyans still gaining once again. This massive stack of Spanish troops cannot handle it. But Niger is still up against Spain and Spanish Mali, but they did peace out of that very recent war. Ghana and Togo being bastions of peace in this area. Liberia having had a recent war. But Ghana and Togo still maintain their original borders. Very interesting here. 48,000 Nigerians in Senegal. Going to be a very, very unfair fight. And Senegal will likely lose more of its land. However, in the south, we see the South African war machine has finally kicked into gear. Swaziland, Gabon, which is one province, and South Africa, and up against Botswana. So Botswana had actually gained from South Africa at one point, which I did not realise, but they were up against most of Southern Africa. And it is likely the South Africans will still win, as their development is unrivaled in this part of Africa. However, we do have some Botswanan troops moving into Namibia, or what their occupied part of Namibia, as the South African troops push further and further deeper into Zambian land. Zambia in land area though is much bigger, so we will see. Iran has finally declared a war. They are looking for revenge, it would appear. The war in Iraq still going on, Iraqi-Pakistani imperialist war, which is Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Pakistan. But Iran losing that war quite heavily, it would appear. Iran and Afghanistan up against the same belligerents as in the Iraqi war. This war making no progress whatsoever, apart from the Japanese occupying the Kurils. Paraguayan conquest of Asuncion. I said that wrong. I said that with a French accent. I do apologise. Not going to pronounce it again, however. And we see Segu again falling from grace. We'll check the Paraguayans out. Apparently they thought it wise to conquer some land. So, Joma, Biur, and Do falling. Spanish Mali completely occupied by the Libyan forces. Kong gaining at, again, Segu's expense, with Djenné and Messina falling. This is a very interesting war, as the Spanish have handled it quite poorly, and we now have 18,000 with more troops on the way. Sudan is on the move, and they are sending their 15,000. We may yet see the Spanish Maghreb fall once again to the Africans. Very good indeed. The Paraguayans did declare a war, interestingly enough, and it is going to be an absolute nightmare. Here we see Brazil supporting a very, very small nation in its reconquest war against Bolivia and Argentina. So the power plays here will be quite significant. However, the Brazilians will probably clinch it for the Paraguayans. And Argentina does now does not have the troops in order to handle Brazilian onslaught. Looks like their panhandle has now been cut off, Misiones, and they have lost two provinces, Corrientes and Yareyu, as the Brazilians make further gains. And the peace has been made. Fuerte Bourbon and Paraguay regaining most of its original land apart from Chaco Boreal. But Asuncion, Concepcion, and Melodia also going to the Paraguayans. They are now once again a major player in South Africa. Just kidding. They are not at all. So interesting thing here is there has finally been pushback from the Botswanans, and Zambia has pieced out with no loss Very interesting indeed. Also further in the north, the DRC have peaced out. But Nigeria is now on the side of South Africa, so Botswana will likely fall, as Tanzania has now suffered the onslaught of Nigerian troops. And there we have it, folks. South Africa gaining quite significantly. 3 provinces plus the 3 they had lost to Botswana. Botswana is no longer a major Central African power. They have wasted away. Now, it would appear that the war in Iraq is still going on and the Iranian reconquest still raging on. There's been no progress here whatsoever. But wars have ended, and wars have begun. The Venezuelan-Peruvian nationalist war, and again, we are going to see another power play in South America as things get sorted. We have the Azerbaijani-Iranian nationalist war as everyone hops on Iran, the second Indonesian-Thai nationalist war, and the second Chinese change government form of Myanmar. So that's China up against Myanmar, Thailand, India, and Cambodia. Interesting. This is going to be a fairer fight than it ever was in Asia. With massive stacks of troops. This is going to be a major war, likely going to slow down the game quite a bit. We are currently looking at 24 FPS. And looks like a major battle of the war will be lost at this point as the Chinese overwhelm the coalition with severe troops. Severe numbers. Big numbers. Large numbers. Lots of numbers. Anyway, let's head over here. Spanish Maghreb is still losing. And Chad has now hopped on. Everyone. Libya, Sudan, Chad, Niger, as they try and keep the Spanish from further conquest. The Spanish have handled this area absolutely terribly. And the progress being made is null and void. More wars are popping up. It looks like 2042 is quite the time for them. Azerbaijan having gained Ardabil already. However, Tabaristan is still in Gilan. Finally, the Iraqi-Turkmenistani-Pakistani war has ended. Or, no, Turkmenistan has left, I should say. Pakistan has regained land at Afghanistan's expense. Amazingly, they had made gains in such a terrible time. So Afghanistan has now been reduced to Bamyan. However, their allies in the north have lost major areas of development. Mashhad, Burjand, and Tehran, and Semnan. So, very interesting over there. Now, if we look in the north here, Venezuela up against Peru. How is that going to go? Very well for Peru, maybe not. However, we will see and time will tell. Venezuela maybe winning, maybe not. Seems like they miscalculated here. Peru and Argentina up against Venezuela. As much as they are developed, I do not have high hopes for them. Again, these wars. Cambodia has already pieced out at no expense to its land, territories, or likely money. So they are at peace once again. So Laos, Lanka, and Vietnam currently at peace. Myanmar losing land to China at the moment. India in complete disarray. This war up here still raging on. Not really raging, but still being conducted. Lots of war happening. Second Egyptian-Ethiopian imperialist war. A Kong-Sierra Leonean nationalist war. Not very interesting at all. A Laotian-Lannan nationalist war, we were just saying how they were at peace, and a Singaporean-Thai imperialist war. Very interesting indeed. I do not know why Singapore declared that war. Actually, I understand why Singapore declared it, but not how they got the claim. Of course they do have. Where is their troop? Where are their troops? Nowhere. Probably thought in an act of aggression they would attempt to take some land from the Thai. However, we will see whether that will be executed well. This war is finally over. Pakistan actually did not lose any land and only gained. Apart from the land they still have cause on in India, or currently India. Pakistan has managed to survive an Iraqi onslaught. However, they are now another major player in the region as their ally to the north, Turkmenistan's power has waned. Excuse me. Azerbaijan taking Ardabil and Gaziantep looking like quite the significant player in the region as Circassia, Georgia and Abkhazia look on. I have high hopes for the Caucasus Azerbaijan, and hopefully they can hold out against a Turkey who is likely to be an aggressor. Anyway, what else do we have? The Dutch-Japanese punitive war. That will be interesting to look at. And very, very exciting. Okay, the Egyptians actually losing land to the Ethiopians, amazingly. So who do the Ethiopians have on their side? Uganda, Central Africa, or the Central African Republic, Djibouti and Oman. And up against just Egypt, because they did not call in Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, or Chad. Very interesting indeed. It looks like Djibouti actually expanded quite interestingly. So the land being gained back in the north as sheer numbers will overwhelm the Egyptians. Where is their military? There it is, 75,000 troops. Now Suakin will be a deciding factor in the war, if they can make it. Looks like they will just be caught, and there we go. The coalition has been reduced to ash and sown through the wind. The war in China still raging on. Venezuelan-Peruvian war not looking good, and the Vietnamese-Cambodian nationalist war that just came to being. Okay, so we have almost all of Europe apart from Denmark against. They are in the EU, never mind. But all of Europe apart from Denmark up against Japan. Japan, you made one too many mistakes. We will see whether the Russians actually make a gain from this or whether they will waste away. However, it's not looking pretty for Japan. Likely nothing will happen to them, however. So, as we near the outset of June 2043, we are seeing some major power plays. Venezuela losing what is Venezuela proper in our timeline, or the eastern half of it in this timeline, to Peruvian occupation and Argentinian forces. Or in Africa, as the Spanish attempt to continue to expand, and they did not lose anything at all to the Libyans. Very interesting. I'm glad the Libyans held their own with a mighty coalition. However, the Chadians are now no longer with them. And over here, as Southeast Asia heats up and northern India is swallowed up by China. Time will tell. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, you know the drill. I'll see you all next time. Well, hopefully, we'll see some smoother borders, as some of them are not looking too great at the moment. And hopefully some major players that don't fall apart, which is what has been happening quite a bit, and I'm getting rather annoyed at it, to be honest. It's just a factor of this game, though. It's what happens. Power ebbs, power flows. Anyway, see you all next time.